Good morning, everybody. Jimmy22 here to spoil everything, which is the norm. And today we're going to talk about Odd Jobs by Heidi Goody and Lane Grant. Now, I never heard of either of these people, but I'm going to tell you, after this book, I am definitely going to, be reading a lot more of their works because it's fantastic. So, what is Odd Jobs? Odd Jobs is, well, it's a story about people, but not just any people. These are the people who they don't keep us safe. I don't want to say they're there for us. When you first read this, how you describe it is you think, okay, it's Men in Black meets Cthulhu meets Office Space. But there's a big difference between Men in Black and what these guys here do. And see, Men in Black is sort of supposed to protect people from themselves and the aliens. Like, they keep everything a secret to make sure that humans don't panic, and then they make sure that the aliens don't take care of the world. At least what I'm familiar with. I know there's a whole deep conspiracy that the Men in Black are either aliens or some other kind of sinister cover up. But in the movie I'm familiar with, and I'm sure most people are familiar with the movies, it's to protect people. The guys in this book, the agency, which I cannot for the life of me remember at this time. I know it's in Birmingham. I know that there's a vault. I know that there's a lot of red tape because, again, it's an office comedy. I cannot remember what they're called. Which, okay, so, yeah, that's my bad. But, so, what's this book about? This book is about Marag, this lady with the strangest. You know what? I'm just gonna look it up. Morag. That main character name is Morag. I don't know if it's short for anything. I don't know if it's a common name. In I think she's from Ireland or Scotland because she's a redhead, which comes into play later. And she killed a cosmic entity, and now they want her dead. So they had to transfer her. And she ends up working in this vault that's in a library that's never open in Birmingham. And so, the first day on the job, this other guy called Rod, which I thought was just a pretentious nickname. No, it's Rodney. Yeah. He, in his day-to-day, he finds this lady inside the vault protesting because the library's never open. One thing leads to another. Some kind of monsters released, and at first you're like, okay, these people are gonna die because he's talking to the girl, trying to keep her, because she handcuffed herself to something until they open the library more, and he's talking to her, and while he's talking to her, the creature's getting closer. At first you think it's a mummy, but then when he's talking to someone, they're walkie-talkie, like, we don't have mummies, and you find out, yeah, it's a creature. It's basically a starfish, and the only reason why it looked like a mummy is because it was wrapped up around a human being that it was consuming, which is a great image to start in. And so you think it's moving towards them, and they can't kill it, and it's explained why they can't kill it. Because if at first you're like, just kill it, just shoot it, because you can kill it with bullets apparently, but no, they don't shoot it. It's not a touchable. It's an untouchable. It's kitty pride, but through politics. So, long story short, they finally find out, oh no, it has to eat the heart of a virgin. And so he asks the girl, are you a virgin? And she's not. So the creature leaves. And the rest of the first chapter, because it's set up in 5 different days, is on, as them trying to placate this ancient deity type creature. And, they're going through some extremes, trying to figure out, okay, what should we do? What shouldn't we do? Where can we get a heart? And at this point, my favorite character in the book, well, she's either my favorite or this other character named Nina, who's basically, she uses YOLO. I don't know how much you need to get into her character, but for the fact that she uses YOLO, that kind of describes it. But it's not. She's not annoying. She's hilarious. She's the kind of person who, after a car crash into a chocolate factory, arms broken, they're pulling her out of a trolley. She's like, wait, and then she stuffs a bunch of chocolate down her blouse. Those two things might in itself kind of describe her. But my favorite character, and if you've ever read Discworld, you'll like her too. Well, if you like the Granny Weatherwick stories, you'll like her too. Is named Vivian, and Vivian is one of those super logical, very intelligent, very pragmatic, very, I don't want to say stuck up, but uppity. Like, she believes things need to be done in a certain way, and they should be done in a certain way. And like, even at a different point in the book, they're like, well, if you need help, scream. She says, I will give you one yell, one full, some kind of, reserved yell, because even in a time of crisis, it's not a matter of losing your dignity. And so throughout the first chapter of the book, the first section, she's trying to figure out where to get these hearts. And she's even, because they need virgins, and she's like, well, why not a child's word? No, we're not using children. Vivian, don't use children. And so she's looking at corpses and stuff. And she ends up settling on this one guy, and he's terminally ill. And so at first she tries to pay him off, and he's like, I'm dying. And she's like, well, don't you want you to leave your money to somebody else? He's like, no. Although I wouldn't mind leaving it to somebody using the money to do something with people I hate. And so she sits down and she takes a list of things that, of people that he's gonna have, they're gonna use the $100,000 to screw with. And one of them is, have a bird poop on his neighbor's car or a certain person's car every day, move a baby crying, supervised, onto his flat where he lived because he hates the neighbors downstairs. I can't remember what it was, but he wanted them to do something to torture the lady that canceled Firefly. She's even like, what's Firefly? It's a show. It's the greatest show ever. Just torture her. And so Vivian, she does it. Like, it doesn't show her doing it, but later on in the book, one of them is like, well, he's dead. Why are you going to do this? She's like, I know. I need to get it done. And so, yeah, they end up killing the guy. They don't show it, which I think they should have. Hold on. That's a scam lightly. But they don't show it. And she throws the heart. And so the monster eats it, placates itself. That's the end of the first chapter. And it's fantastic. It's funny. It's different. I kind of just shot through the book and I forgot to take notes, which I really regret right now. But yeah, it's good. And so the rest of the book is, it's a combination of world building. You have fishmen. You have cosmic Lovecraftian. Well, the whole thing is based on Lovecraftian monsters. I don't know if you need to really go over the races. I liked one of them because one of them was more serious. They kind of like looked down on humans, but they weren't too involved. And the other is fishmen. And the only real time they had to shine was in the second chapter on Tuesday, because that comes after Monday. And this was like, the Odd Jobs is supposed to take place over a week. And long story short, they find a ring of fishmen making porn and selling it, bootleg porn. That's the chapter, and it was a good chapter. It's just the fishmen, they kind of have like this gangster everything they have in the sentence, and the yo dog, and it's like fuckers. But other than them, it was okay. The third chapter, I want to say that the high point in the third chapter is, okay, so remember how I mentioned Men in Black? Well, the difference between Men in Black and the guys who do the Odd Jobs is that Men in Black is trying to save people. It's trying to protect the world. These guys are working with the monsters, these Lovecraftian creatures, because they're trying to make... there's going to be something called the Soul Gate, or the closing of the Soul Gate, or something Soul Gate. I don't know if it opens or it closes. But basically when that happens, humanity is just... it's screwed in the ass with every single utensil and item imaginable that you cannot ever fathom comfortably fitting inside an ass. And they even say suicide won't work. Once that soul thing closes or opens, you're screwed. You're stuck in there with the monsters. And their job is to try to get it, to go as smoothly and as they're trying to keep the aliens, I guess, from rushing into it. Like they understand that there's no way that they can win against these. Like every single scenario, they're like, no, you can't win. There's no way to win. There's no chance. There's no hope. Nothing. You cannot win against these higher gods or elder gods or whatever. And so, yeah, no, they're just trying to make everything run as smoothly as possible. And to get people to, you know, kind of like become more accepting of these events as it happens, which leads to one of the most funny and original parts in this book, and that is a conference where they discuss getting the public to accept the monsters. They talk about plushies, they talk about boy bands, they talk about maybe get people to commit suicide by various means and campaigns. It's hilarious. It's fun. There's plushies. There's Elder God plushies. Plushies of Elder God. I would buy a Lovecraftian Elder God. After this, I'm going to go on Amazon and see if there is a Lovecraftian Elder God. And so, yeah, it's... And honestly, I don't know if I disagree with the agency, because if the world is going to end irrelevant to what your actions are, what else is there? I mean, are you just going to panic? Are you just going to accept it? Are you just going to, let people screw around? What are you going to do? It's going to happen. There's no way. So why not just have society run as smoothly as possible until the end of the world? So yeah. Oh, and I think it was on Thursday. I want to say Wednesday or Thursday, because the first two chapters and the fifth chapter, so I guess maybe the Fishman wasn't that bad. They really just they stuck in. They're clear. But the Wednesday and Thursday and Tuesday, I don't know. Wednesday and Thursday, I don't know. It's because it's like in the middle of the week, and since I know this is an office company, and I kind of just switched to office mentality, I kind of just like, oh God, it's Tuesday. I mean, it's Wednesday and Thursday. But then, I was super focused on Tuesday, so I don't know. Where was I going with this again? Oh, God. Well, anyways, back to Morag and the whole redhead thing, because I think this was on Thursday or Wednesday. Because they kept saying you had to get approval from I forgot, they all have like these weird long names except for the handmaidens of so-and-so, which she killed. But they tell her, you're going to have to meet so-and-so, and he's going to have to give you approval. And she's like, what's, because she's freaking out, because again, she killed one of their handmaidens. And they're like, no, they'll love you. No, they'll love you. Like every time, just no, they'll love you. Why? Why will they love you? And this is where the whole redhead thing comes into play, because she goes into their building, and there's just redheads everywhere, natural redheads. And they discuss it. They're like, well, why the hell does the guy have a thing for redheads? Well, we've been persecuted, and they like suffering. What the fuck? But yeah, and you find out that he's fine, because it's talking to her, and she's like, well, then the thing is, because the elder god, he doesn't care about the little stripes of the lower things around him. He even likes pissing them off, and he even says that so long as you're entertaining to them, they're gonna let you live. And so in the end, she's entertaining to them, and she lives. They don't try to kill her. And then, because you don't see that thing in this part. What you see is just streamers, and apparently that's how it takes control and it connects to people. But later on, you do actually get to see it. You do get to see the Elder God, and that's because it got, I don't know if it's an Elder God. I know it's the god of the city, because they in the Friday, another god is awakened, and they're like, yeah, because gods don't like other gods getting in on their territory. So yeah, it's a god. I don't know if it's an elder god, but it's a god. I mean, to us it's elder, it's old, but I don't know how it. So you meet it later on, and what happens was it gets sick, because you remember that starfish thing? Well, it ate it, and you see it, and It's like one of those SCPs. I can't remember which one it is, but it's an SCP where it's just just organs and body tissue and stuff inside a pool, and that's what it is. And so this girl Nina goes in and she, to take a look at it, and as she's going in, she sees a redhead that's just half, just this part is left and the rest has been absorbed into the mass, and it's mad at her. It's saying, you did this to me. No, she's like, no. And she plays ELO because they turns out that her and the god both like ELO, but the god only likes it with this in the earlier years with this one guy because of the other guy who was crushed to death. I don't know, but they tend to instinctively like things that are suffering, which is also why I said it like the redheads. I don't know if I said that, but they like the redheads because supposedly they were tortured and it's like a back and forth because they couldn't really figure out why they didn't like the redheads. But the theory is it just likes things that suffer and have history of suffering. And so she finds out because it ate Kevin, whose heart was taken from. Oh, and the starfish creature was named Kevin because, again, it had this long name and everyone's like, screw it, we're calling you Kevin. The creature, it ate it, and yeah, that's what got it sick because it had all those chemo chemicals in it. But she gave it something and they let her go. After a very tense moment where it was bad and she started sinking into the mass. But yeah, it let her go. In the 5th chapter, you find out that Nina was, in fact, the one who was behind everything. She's the one she was behind everything, and it came down to money. They're dealing with the end of the world by elder Lovecraftian horrors, and it came down to money. And her reasoning was she wanted to get them to put more money in, more funding into the agency to try and beat these creatures, which it makes sense somewhat, but yeah, it was money. Which was kind of climactic, but I guess that's you can see that as a joke because it was very like some parts was very Douglas Adams-y because everything's kind of like, oh well, there's chaos. Look at that. Hey, that guy died. Oh well, he got run over. So far and so on. And so yeah, that's. Okay, that's not how it ended. There's this other guy, and he's basically a lumberjack, and I want to say his name is Michael or Robert, but I don't want to say his name is Robert because there's a Rodney, so you would have a Rob and a Rod, but it might very well be Robert. And what happened is Morag was the only agent that she got her own. The agency gave her own place. Like once she got there, they're like, oh, here's a place for you. And long story short, she finds out that she's a sleeper agent. And at first, because she finds out she has a neighbor, because she accidentally palm thrust him in the face and kicks him out of his house and goes to sleep on his couch. And he's a very nice guy, very accepting. He plays the bagpipes, and they go, and he does a comedic routine. And on top, there's a crazy cat lady. And so and she finds out she's a sleeper agent because one of the creatures or one of the entities or whatever, it's in that flat. And at first, they think it's a crazy cat lady. But then they find out, no, it's not the crazy cat lady. But you don't find out till the second to the last chapter. And what happens is Nina... Okay, so the last chapter. Wait, was it Nina? No, Nina's the crazy fun one. The doctor. I can't remember her name. She ends up pointing a gun at Morag and making her go upstairs to the cat lady with Robert behind her. Or her gun's at Robert, and she forces him to go up to the cat lady because she wants to get the god. And so she makes Morag go into the room, and she locks her in, and she starts saying this little prayer, because apparently gods can be, maybe that's why they call them gods, because certain prayers work on them. Like, there's a prayer that makes them go to sleep, there's a prayer that wakes them up, and the prayer she said, I can't remember it, I'm not going to even try, because it was such a weird combination of letters. I every time it showed up, I just skipped it. Which is not a good habit because in the Terry Pratchett books, when the We Free Men come out, I would skip that too, and the first couple books, and then I realized, oh no, this is hilarious. But yeah, and the creature doesn't eat her because the old crazy cat lady, was in fact an old crazy cat lady. And what happens is Morag says, yeah, the guy is the monster, and so yeah, she dies. She screams and she dies. But yeah, that's Odd Jobs by Heidi Goody and Lane Grant, and I highly recommend this. I cannot recommend this enough. If you like horror, if you like comedy, if you like office comedy, if you like dark comedy, if you like Lovecraftian monsters, if you like hell, if you like Granny Weatherwax, if you like I don't know how, Nina, just crazy YOLO people, this is a book for you. And I think, do not quote me on this. Do not go to Amazon and say, hey, this guy said so and so and so. I think you can read this free with Amazon Prime, because I was going to read it free on Amazon Prime or Amazon Kindle, but then I'm like, I might do a book review on this at some point, so I want to have the actual physical copy. And for some reason, this book, I don't know, it was just unlucky, but for some reason it kept, you see, it's all bent. And usually my books, like, I know I show you some books and they're kind of in bad condition, but that's because I've had them for years and I've read them and I keep them in my pocket. This one, I kept trying to keep it on the side and something would happen or it would fall, and it would, I don't know, like, it's just, I was going to say the gods just had a thing against it, but there was one character in this book I did not like. I mean, I didn't hate him, I didn't want him to die, kind of, but he annoyed me a lot. And the only time it was kind of fun was when he was playing off of Vivian, because Vivian doesn't take that shit. But she's still polite because she's British, and British people should be polite, and she will lecture you for 5 minutes on exactly how to make the perfect cup of tea. But Silius is the deacon, and for some reason, I guess because it's a government agency, so they have to have a deacon. I don't know how deacons work. But yeah, he's always like, stop calling them elder gods. Don't call them gods. I find gods offensive. They're not gods. There's only one God. Bitch. And so, yeah, he could have died. Like, there was one scene where there was a murder that took place in the church, and they explained, well, it's because they want the humans' minds, which is weird because they constantly say, hey, we're bugs to them, we're insects, they don't mean anything, but yeah, we want their minds. And he says, let's have a talk with them. And she's like, and Vivian's like, no, they'll kill you because they see you as a different god, that somebody who has the worship and attention of people, and they'll kill you. So it's kind of like, which is it? Is it they want us or we're insignificant? But yeah, so this one guy that Morag slept with, who was a servant to one of the priests, the handmaidens that she killed because they wanted Morag dead. When they have sex, they orgasm, they cut off the head and rip out the genitals. It's nothing personal, it's just kind of like, I guess, an excitement, like, how if you're with somebody and they scratch your back, but this is head and genitals. Oh, and that's one of the freakiest things in the books, before I forget. I'm sorry, this is all over the place, it's just this book got me hyper. Also, I had some alcohol before doing this video, in a shower, because I read, well, if you take... This is not the first disclaimer. I am not a proponent of alcohol. It's just that I read, it gives you something. It might help. It was one of these, and it was okay. Usually I hate the taste of alcohol, but it was okay. But anyways, these things are super freaky. They're like these spiders with 10 legs, and yes, I know the definition of an arachnid is 8 legs, but. They're like spiders, and what it is they have frozen baby faces all over their bodies. And the reason why they put them is because they wanted to seem normal. They have screaming, silent baby faces all over their body because they wanted to blend in. Let that sink in. I'm just gonna wait here for a minute and let that sink in. Well, no, I don't have a minute, but. So yeah, it killed it had sex and then killed a redhead in the altar, and this deacon, he's like, well, we have a service coming up. We have to bless this before. There's a dead man. His genitals are gone. I mean, his head is gone too, but his genitals is gone. I'm pretty sure decapitation is a lot more common than we would like to believe it is, but it's nowhere near ripped off genitals. Nowhere near. I don't know if it's because most people don't have the stomach to rip off genitals, but it's not that common. It doesn't happen that much. But yeah, so, you know, he bitches a lot like that. Like, he's like, oh, well, we had to have the service or whatever. Shut up. I'm sorry. He just Okay, his funniest scene, though, I will admit this, is that he got into an argument with a Catholic. And because the Catholic's like, yeah, it's weird because you would think this would happen at the church because if it's because of the symbolic power. And Deacon, like, Silas, like, no, you didn't. And it was a back and forth, and everyone's like, one lady's like, no, let's not waste our time with that. So yeah, and then the last chapter, which was hilarious, it was funny, it had more action, it was a bit faster. It was basically, you know, an elder god was loose on the city, and he wasn't nice about it, and they had to put him to sleep. But it took place in a chocolate factory, and there was some fun scenes in there. So overall, I highly recommend this book. I can't recommend it enough. There's a sequel. I'm gonna order the sequel too. It's called This Time It's Personal or something like that. Which it was personal because, you know, her life was in danger. But yeah, I can't wait for the to get the sequel. I think it's already out, and I'm gonna definitely look up more of these authors because they know their stuff. But yeah, that's Odd Jobs again by Heidi and Ian. So this is Jimmy 22 signing out.